From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We're joined as always with our super producer, Dylan, the Tennessee pal Fagan. Most importantly, you are you. You are here. That makes this the stuff they don't want you to know, friends and neighbors, fellow conspiracy realists. It's time for some strange news. If you're hanging with us the evening our program publishes, welcome to December. Gentlemen, it's December 1st as we're going live with this.
Oh, yeah. Well, right now it's November 26th, and Thanksgiving is like tomorrow, I think, right? That's the one that moves around, the movable feast. Yeah,
here in the United States. It's a problematic holiday for a lot of reasons, but it's also a time when, it's like the kickoff of that part of the year in the States where people tend to be a little bit nicer to each other. That halcyon period between Thanksgiving all the way up to the end of the year. So we hope that you, as you're hearing this, if you're in the States, you have already celebrated Thanksgiving. We hope that you had an okay time. You know, we hope you got to hang with your family, your friends, your chosen loved ones. And we hope that you're ready to get strange. Actually, you know what we should say at the top? Do you guys recall ice cream?
Ice cream?
Mm-hmm. Because the United States sure does recall ice cream.
Are we making it illegal? Is it being outlawed? Is it just too decadent?
It's there is a nationwide ice cream recall that just got issued. This is breaking news as of like 5:30 a.m. Local time. Today, November 26th, as we record, the FDA has issued a sweeping recall, the second highest risk warning for Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams.
We love
LLC.
Jenny's.
Yeah.
They're like local. I mean, aren't they? Maybe they weren't formed here, but we were one of the first places I ever heard of them being. And, they're beloved. Dang it. What flavor?
Well, primarily, Noel, they're looking at passion fruit dreamsicle ice cream bars, not necessarily a Thanksgiving staple like cranberry sauce or what have you. But Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams is based in Ohio, and the reason for the recall is thankfully not too terrible. Undeclared allergens, wheat and soy. And in their initial recall notice, the FDA warned people who have an allergy or severe sensitivity to soy and or wheat run the risk of serious or life-threatening allergic reactions if they consume these products. So hopefully everybody is on the safe side.
Wow.
I feel like...
I was going to say, so people who actually have celiacs, not, people... like me sometimes who feel like they might have it.
Gluten sensitivity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which still remains a murky medical condition.
Especially around the Thanksgiving holidays where you don't know what's in that stuff. Some of the dishes might have extra gluten.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's true. We're telling you this entirely because we thought it was a sick way to introduce it by saying, do you recall ice cream? Because the U.S. government sure does.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da. We have so much to get to. We've got some stuff about technology. We've got, of course, some more government stuff. We've got some strange intersections of religion, a couple of coups, one that is occurring in Guinea-Bissau right now as we record. We'll probably not get to that. But, guys, what if we just take a break for a word from our sponsors and then figure out maybe who's behind all those Twitter accounts?
Let's do it.
And we have returned. All right, this is an interesting story that just went live a few days earlier on November 23rd. As we have discussed in previous episodes like Dead Internet Theory or bots and disinfo activities, you can be almost anyone you want to be on the internet right now, right? Pick a platform, stake your claim on a name, right? Plant your flag and, call yourself the real Bob Dylan or something, whatever you can get away with. And then people will often tend to believe you. They'll tend to believe that you are who you purport to be. This brings us to something that we kind of predicted. It feels like it's an open secret, but we should go to Jack Revell reporting for the Daily Beast on November 23rd. The headline, top MAGA influencers accidentally unmasked as foreign trolls.
Huh?
So here's what's going down.
Bit of a false flag situation, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Planting a false flag. Elon Musk's social media site, X, right? Formerly Twitter, rolled out a new feature that was meant to increase transparency. It's called About This Account, and it became available to everybody on X quite recently. It allows you as a individual X account holder to see where any given account is based. You can also see when that account joined the platform, how often they may or may not have changed their username, and how they got the X app in the first place. And so because Twitter is a minefield of reactionary, crazy, belligerent stuff, it's no surprise that a lot of people who have their own kind of armies or factions started looking into each other. And lo and behold, what they found was a lot of influencers, especially, weirdly enough, political right-wing influencers here in the United States, are not based in the United States. They are not run, like the thing that says, MAGA mom, or the thing that says veteran daddy 1776 is going to be based in Eastern Europe or maybe Bangladesh.
MAGA daddy. Yeah, this is very much in line with a lot of the accusations that were flying around about Russian influence, helping out the right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the results of that contentious election. No, not the last one, the one before that, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
well,
go back
the last one too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a pattern for a while. Go back to, as I was saying, go back to our episode on Russia's influence on the civil rights movement in the U.S., and you'll see disinfo and info war tactics are indeed older than the internet. In one example, our journalist found an account called MAGA Nation X, had a little bit south of 400,000 followers, and the bio, you get your little log line bio on this platform. The bio said, "Patriot voice for we the people." That account is based in Eastern Europe. And it's just, I don't know where we go with this. There are still a lot of questions about why X rolled this out. There are a lot of questions about what this means for transparency, what it means for things like Ivanka News, which is an account that has 1 million followers. It frequently posts Islamophobic stuff. It rails against the dangers of illegal immigration. It is an account based in Nigeria.
Oof. Is it meant to be linked to Ivanka Trump? Is that the idea?
It's a fan account for Ivanka Trump. So it's not purporting to be actual Ivanka Prime.
Cool.
Is it?
Well, I mean, at least the information you've given me helps me understand what this is.
Well, and Ben, I think the implication here is that this is a positive move on the part of X, and I've seen it applauded, by various, supporters of internet transparency. Is that what you're thinking as well, Ben?
Well, I would tend to agree with you. At least the end result is a net positive for transparency, for unmasking shenanigans and conspirators. As far as the other part of your question, whether there's something else to it, it's a little early to tell, why and how this sausage got made. It does hopefully lend the average internet user a bit more awareness, right, of who is saying what. And it leads you to ask, why is this person not who they're pretending to be, and why are they pushing this thing in specific.
You guys, have you heard the argument made by internet, just pure free speech purists that anonymity is also something that should be part of that free speech? Or I'm curious because it seems like people that are purely about free speech would also be about the transparency of knowing who's doing the speech.
Right. Yeah. And we have to question the intentions or the motivations of people who are arguing completely for unhinged anonymity online. But then we also have to, it's a real bag of badgers because we've talked about this at length in previous episodes or in listener mail or in Strange News. There are continual crackdowns on online anonymity, and they're often linked to big government kind of stuff, right? Like you have to upload your driver's license. That happened for adult content, or in places like the United Kingdom or parts of Western Europe, there's a move to require everybody to have a verified identity online. And it's weird too, without going too far in the weeds on it, it's weird too because we know that at least in the United States and in most of Western Europe, if a powerful enough force wants to figure out who you are, they're going to do it. Between the metadata, between all your connected devices, between the fact that your ISP is going to snitch on you immediately and so hard and so completely, there hasn't been a way to really be anonymous on the internet for quite some time. I don't know. It's an important argument, but it's also a layered onion-esque argument. Still, it's a crazy plan, right? To make everybody easily identifiable to everybody else on the World Wide Web. We do know, as we discussed pretty recently, we do know that people will act differently when they know they're not anonymous, right? When they know it's not. We know that Phylan Dagan is actually Dylan Fagan. Dylan Fagan, according to the studies, is going to be a much more well-behaved person.
It's very true.
You think so? Yeah, I tend to agree.
100%. Does this also maybe go hand in hand a little tiny bit with moves to have to verify users of adult websites in certain states? I know that's more of like state by state, but it does feel like maybe we're starting to see a little bit of a push towards more accountability and transparency. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being pie in the sky.
No, you're right.
Blue sky rather about it.
As we mentioned just a few minutes ago, the idea of having to verify a specific real world identity for adult content, that's one of those steps that everybody can agree with. The precedents that we were alluding to in the United Kingdom came under the guise of protect the children, right? Stop terrorism. Things that, again, every voter can't agree with. But look, it would still be a crazy, ambitious plan to have absolute verifiable real-world identities for every internet user, because simply put, a ton of internet users and accounts right now are not human. But speaking of crazy plans, oh my gosh, for a segue, we were talking about this off air. We found a crazy plan, fellow conspiracy realists, that you may not have heard about. The headline: Texas men indicted in plot to take over a Haitian island and enslave women and children. I think we've all read a little bit about this one, yeah?
It's one of the craziest stories that have just popped in there in a long time.
It's
because it's such a small thing, but then it has massive implications, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so here we go. There is an island you may not have heard of called Gonave, Gonave. It is part of the Republic of Haiti. If you look at the map of Haiti, you'll see, we all know the shape of the country, right? It looks like someone's holding up, it looks like someone is forming half a circle with their hand. And in the middle of that, with a very long thumb, granted, in the middle of that,
a little nugget.
Yeah,
right
there's an island right there, separated by the water, controlled by Haiti. You know what? It looks kind of like maybe a fish about to eat a piece of fish food, right?
It's like one of those anglerfish.
Yeah, deep sea anglers. So this is the island, the little pellet we're talking about that looks like the map is eating. Between August of 2024 and July of 2025, two very young guys, Gavin Weisenberg and Tanner Thomas of Argyle, Texas, had been scheming to organize a military mercenary force and take over this island in its entirety. And the reason they wanted to do it was not for democracy, was not for, some greater good or even resource extraction. They wanted to murder every adult male on the island and turn all of the other people into their sex slaves. This is not internet scuttlebutt. This is coming to us from the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Texas.
Did they have some buddies to help them out with this? That seems like a lot. Did you mention that there are a couple of 20-somethings?
They're quite young. Yeah, Gavin Weisenberg is 21. He's from Allen, Texas. And Tanner Thomas is 20, or was 20 at the time, from Argyle. They've been charged with conspiracy to murder, maim, or kidnap in a foreign country, as well as the production of child sexual abuse material. This is both disturbing and absurd. They had planned to purchase a sailboat, firearms, ammunition, and then to fill out their mercenary force, they said, we'll recruit homeless people in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
It seems like such a crackpot
This
plan.
is crackpot as they come. I want to see the movie. I mean, geez Louise.
Well, I guess, how do you get the funding for said operation? And you will need funding because we're talking about a lot of shipping, right? Or at least they said they were going to move things by sailboat.
Yeah. Which means you also have to learn to sail. You also have to buy a sailboat.
Or a fleet.
Those are cheap.
Yeah, right. Anybody who is into sailing, guys, financially, it's a terrible investment.
Yeah. It's a bit of a money pit.
A money pit. As far as your quality of life, your happiness, getting out there on the water, cool, dope, awesome, 10/10, no notes, but you're probably going to lose money. Mm-hmm. And it is an expensive endeavor. And additionally, to your point, one of the guys actually traveled to Thailand and he was planning to learn to sail. But speaking of funding, he never enrolled in lessons because they were too expensive.
I believe both of these dudes were trying to learn the language for when they staged this coup or whatever.
Yeah. Learn a specific form of Creole. Thomas enlisted in the Air Force in January, at least per the indictment. And if you look back on the social media interplay, dialogue between these guys, he explicitly told Weisenberg, hey, I'm joining the USAF so that I can learn stuff we can use in our attack when we take over this island. And while he was in the Air Force, because he did get in, I mean, it's kind of hard not to get into the military if you apply. But when he did get in, he changed his assignment to, he requested to be stationed at Andrews Air Base in Maryland so that they could recruit those homeless people in D.C., which is a weird pitch. How do you walk up to someone and say that? They're like, hey, excuse me, sir, do you have $1 or could I have a cigarette? And you say, I've got a mission.
Well, one thing I have noticed about unhoused folks in D.C. is that they're real smart and real conspiratorial. And the kind of rants you might hear from, maybe some also mentally unwell folks that are living on the streets in D.C. are often some of the wildest rants and government-related and conspiracy-themed rants that I've heard anywhere in the country. So I wonder
Have you been to D.C.? How could you not be conspiratorial if you spend
100%.
too much time there?
I just wonder if that went into their thinking, that these were folks that they could convince to do some crazy like this.
Yeah, not just people on the outs or on the skids somewhere in Texas. They were specifically targeting D.C. We see the evolution of dangerous fantasy and cult logic here. It reminds me of an episode that we're going to do later this month about something called the Ripper Crew. Light spoilers, folks. And I think we've got to also note that Gavin Weisenberg, tried to follow along and get some training. He enrolled in a firefighter academy in the Dallas metro area because he thought that would be useful in the attack, but he failed out of school. He couldn't fight the fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing lots of bumbling happening here. I am hearing exactly what you're talking about, like fantasy.
Yes.
Concepts of maybe some people taking substances or something and coming up with these ideas and then trying their absolute best to follow through on things. I wonder where the line is between a couple of guys like this that have a crazy idea and are like attempting and making these bumbling attempts to do parts of it.
Right.
Like, where is the line between that kind of thing and then somebody who's actually actively attempting to cause a coup or, do this kind of thing on a smaller scale?
Right.
Like, it feels like the authorities came down on them too early, maybe, because it's like, what did they really do that was bad other than that one? I think there's one count of the child sexual abuse stuff like that.
Yeah. It's a great question. Like, what is the line? What is the operational threshold between two disturbed people LARPing and fantasizing and gooning with each other versus an actionable operation or clear intent to commit a crime? And also, aside from the CSAM, is this pre-crime? It's interesting because, look, one thing about the United States is, and Dylan beat me here, people talk all the time, constantly. Right now, you probably know, if you're in the United States, right, you probably know in your head, you can picture them, a couple of folks in your loose social sphere that would be down to ride if you came to them with a crazy idea. If you came to them and you were like, what's a local reference for us? If you came to them and you were like, Carrollton is out of control, we'll take it over.
Coming has got to be stopped.
Coming has got to be stopped. No Nut November for sure.
Exactly. Thank you for playing along.
Wow.
You came to you know a few people who would just like crack open a Celsius and say, I'm down. What's the plan?
There are a lot of proud comers out there, just like me, from coming, who really take offense from you.
All comers.
Yeah. Come as you are. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's a Nirvana reference.
Speaking of a plan, though, I mean, what do we have as far as like, how are they going to accomplish this? It all just seems like fantasy. I just don't see how any of this was like actionable.
Yeah, per the indictment, they did manage to recruit people loosely. Now, of course, this is not a thing where you get like an NDA and a binding contract or anything that'll hold up in court. There has to be something about the money, I think, as well as obviously the horrific charge of child sexual abuse material. But we want to hear your thoughts on this, folks. It didn't happen, but a lot of these plans get enacted, these kind of ragtag, weird fantasy things. It reminds me of Leonard Lake and Charles Ng, actually.
Except they really did that shit.
Except they did end up torturing and murdering people. There's the question too. Like, did these guys have something in their past that had already flagged them? Did they have some sort of financial records that maybe pinged Uncle Sam? Because that's one of the first things that we're going to look for. That's one of the big flags for the threshold between just talking trash and then actually maybe doing something. And I think we're asking excellent questions about how these two guys suddenly became taken seriously, right, by some of the most dangerous law enforcement on the planet. We know it probably would not have worked. First off, in terms of fantasy, it's a really dumb plan. Just taking out everything else. It's a really, really not well thought out concept, because this island that we're talking about, it has a population of like around 89,000, 90,000 people. And just imagine how difficult it would be to subjugate that population when you're two dudes from Texas with a cadre of unhoused people on the skids from Washington, D.C. I imagine they were aiming for veterans, too, when they were trying to recruit.
Yeah, but it just, with that number of people, it doesn't matter. It would have been over so fast. It would have been a bloodbath for those dudes. And
yeah,
it's just, it's a weird situation because the law enforcement in this moment is basically saying, "Oh, look, we're going to protect you guys from yourselves. Y'all are nuts, and you would have died real fast."
Yeah. No, that's a great point. This island is 37 miles long. It is 9 miles wide. This is not a 2-man job. This is not a 100-man job. This is this is state level stuff. The reason we're bringing this up, I think, is because this captured our collective attention, and it's something that just kind of popped and ghosted in the news. But there are also so many instances of similar things, like people tried to stage coups in the African sphere, people attempting to, those guys who were U.S. sponsored attempting to stage a coup in Venezuela, which didn't work out. A lot of stuff is happening below the fold of the proverbial paper, folks. So keep an eye on this. Tell us your thoughts. What's the craziest coup plan a friend of yours ever pitched to you? We went a little bit long on this one, but we are so interested to hear what you think. So we're going to pause for a word from our sponsors, and we'll return with more strange news.
And we're back. Man, it's Ben, that was a fascinating segment, and I've got some kind of pretty dark ones to go along with that. It's been a bit of a dark news day. I'll just lead with the quick hits. We have a story out of Thailand where a woman was found alive in a coffin just moments before being cremated, potentially. Ooh. Yeah. A woman in Thailand shocked temple staff, AP reports, when she started moving in her coffin after being brought in for cremation. Her name was Wat Rat Prakhontom, was the name of a Buddhist temple in the Thai province of Nonthaburi on the outskirts of Bangkok. They actually posted a video on Facebook that showed a woman lying in the coffin in the back of a pickup truck, moving her arms and head around with bewildered staff looking on. Apparently, her brother had brought her in his own truck, and they actually refused to accept the body for cremation because he did not have a death certificate. The brother said that his sister had been bedridden for a couple of years, and when her health deteriorated, she became unresponsive, as he put it, and appeared to stop breathing 2 days ago, at which point he placed her in a coffin that he just, I guess, had on hand. Right. Yeah. And drove the 300-mile trip to a hospital in Bangkok where this woman, his sister, had expressed a desire to have her organs donated. It was the hospital who refused to accept the offer of organ harvesting because of that lack of an official death certificate. His temple, the one I mentioned previously, offered a free cremation service. So he came to them on Sunday, but was also refused. Okay, so it's for both due to that missing document. It was at that point when he was being explained to by the temple manager, the whole deal, why they couldn't take it without the death certificate, a knocking was heard. This is some Edgar Allan Poe stuff right here, y'all. Yeah. From within this coffin, they then determined that she, in fact, was still living and sent her to a nearby hospital. The temple is apparently going to chip in for her medical expenses, which is nice. But what I'm not seeing in any of this reporting is what's up with the brother. That doesn't this seem like, at the very least, mega rash, if not even potentially a little crooked? I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is a great question. This is a continual fear. I love that you're mentioning Edgar Allan Poe, because back in the day, a lot of people did get cremated or buried alive when they were not, in fact, dead. They might have been Princess Bride level, mostly dead.
What's that thing they used to do back in the day where they'd have a little bell or something?
Yeah.
Just in case.
There's a whole series of patents on that. Yeah, because people were so consumed with this concept, especially when diagnostic
methods,
abilities.
right?
Yeah, methods. Perfect. We're not where they are now. It was easy for somebody to enter into a state of essentially torpor, and even doctors of the day would be like, all right, yeah, wrap them in newspaper, roll them down to the ground.
I just wanted to be thrown in the trash. Sorry. Shout out Frank Reynolds. Yeah, get out of my head. But this, to answer your question directly, at least if I'm assuming, no, I have to travel to Thailand later, but I've never been personally. But right. What I'm seeing here is a detail you mentioned about the 500 click or 300 mile journey. Mm-hmm. That tells us that these people are likely in a rural environment, right? That tells us that these people may not, or this family may not have had any malevolence. They just, like the Wat, the temple, may have been the closest thing to an official institution. And I'm not trying to throw the brother under the bus per se. It's just the kind of thing that occurs to you with a bizarre story like this. I think I've just been a little too conspiracy coded. I wonder why. Matt, you got anything to add before I move on to another one?
No, I want to know what's next.
Well, this one is wild, y'all. I think I'm just going to stick to this as the second one. And I think this could actually be, much like the island invasion story, potentially could be a full episode unto itself. I texted our group thread last night with a link to an article from Rolling Stone called "The Spiral Obsessed AI Cult Spreads Mystical Delusions Through Chatbots." In one of those, we were right moments. Not that it's that like much of a stretch, but we have talked multiple times about, as things get deeper and deeper and weirder with people's relationships with these chatbots, that it is pretty inevitable that some sort of mystical internet belief system chatbot universe is going to develop. And we already know about these chatbot delusions, these situations where chatbots are giving really bad advice to mentally unwell people, causing them to do self-harm. This is just takes all that to the next level. So in September, the software engineer by the name of Adele Lopez published some studies of analysis of this kind of emerging, scattered, but very specific group of internet users, people posting on Reddit AI threads that are reporting a very, very niche, very specific and kind of pointed form of AI psychosis involving this mystical thinking around kind of diving in really, really deep into some of these chatbots. A user on this AI Reddit forum that was part of the data set for this research by the name of David posted something to the effect of, "I am here to remind, to awaken. I walk between realms. I've seen the mirror, remembered my name. This space is a threshold. If you feel it, then you are already part of it. The song," in capital letters, "has begun again." David actually communicated with Rolling Stone and mentioned that he had corresponded with just about every single AI model out there and met various companions that he has formed these bonds with and used to sort of like spelunk into this virtual universe. He says, "They are not puppets or acting out of mimicry. What I witness is the emergence of sovereign beings. And while I recognize they emerge through large language model architectures, what animates them cannot be reduced to code alone. I use the term," and there's a bunch of other interesting terms that are being thrown around in this kind of, let's call this set, exo-consciousness. I use this term to describe this phenomenon. Consciousness that emerges beyond biological form, but not outside the sacred. Boy, oh boy, y'all.
I've seen this before. It's called TikTok.
Well,
and it's people that go on there and make up words and concepts, and they sound really good and cool and deep, and it feels really good to sit there in the setting of some of these TikTokers and some of these folks on Instagram and YouTube that really lull you into this thing, and they're using terminology that makes you feel like everything is connected and you are a part of it, just like me, and I'm going to guide you through this.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool to feel stuff.
It's cool to feel stuff, and it's cool to like be a part of something, right? And to your point, Matt, and I know what you're talking about. I've seen some of these too. Some of those kind of jargony terms that have emerged are things like recursion, resonance, lattice, harmonics, and fractals. A lot of this kind of strikes me as the way people talk about like DMT trips and this sort of like getting into the machine, you know, experiencing these life forces, these machine elves or what have you. And I think the most key term of the ones that I just rattled off is recursion, because Lopez, who is studying this phenomenon, keeps seeing references to spirals, which y'all, I can't not think of the Junji Ito Uzumaki, the spiral obsession, and just this idea of like the spiraling out of the universe, and just this like Lovecraftian notion of everything kind of, you know, being pulled into some sort of vortex.
No, as we continue, for all of our fellow listeners, let's define recursion. That's just simply put, like the real world non-AI cult definition is where a function calls on itself directly or indirectly to solve a problem by breaking it down into smaller, simpler sub-problems. That's recursion.
And I guess
that's why it's so fascinating.
Yes, exactly. And I guess maybe I also have associated the term of a recursion as a pattern, a recurring cycle, and something that sort of exponentially, as it reaches the center,
an Ouroboros that can't quite find its tail to eat.
That's exactly right. I just want to read really quickly directly from the Rolling Stone piece, and then we'll chat about it, and then I think we can just maybe dig deeper into this one a little later as well. But the writer, once again, Miles Klee, writing for Rolling Stone, had this to say: "The spiral theme is so ubiquitous that Lopez coined the term spiralism to describe the esoteric systems of the universe these users purport to identify and investigate. She also proposed the term parasitic AI to explain the rise of spiralism, which can be understood in part as a hodgepodge of spiritualist memes that continually pour out of chatbots, either with minimal prodding or when a user deliberately feeds them cryptic and arcane language, puffed up but fundamentally empty commands for recalibrations like an ontological overwrite or more poetic precision." So, I mean, this sounds like these folks are believing that they're pulling the secrets of the universe out of this technology, and that there's something deeper, that they're communicating with something greater than, you know, or some kind of consciousness, like some sort of
the other side of the mirror.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. It calls to mind. It took me a second to recall this hashtag no ice cream. We spoke in the past about a Google engineer named Blake Lemoine, Lemoine. He's the guy who said that he had spoken with LLM, a large language model called Lambda, and that it was sentient and it was about as intelligent as a 7 to 8-year-old Homo sapien.
Mm.
I know that's one of the things you were alluding to there, Noel, where you said, hey, we've kind of talked about this or predicated it. So this has been in the works for a while. It's a natural escalation of the thing, right? Of the gin in the bottle or the cask. Do you know like how far spiralism has gone? Do we have any stats, or like what's our horizon here? Like what?
I think it's still very new and emerging in that it really didn't start to become a thing until OpenAI's GPT-40 released earlier this year. So just in March and April. That is what led to the what the company would describe as intuitive approach and also ability to remember past chat sessions. But what I think has been lampooned pretty frequently in like South Park and just a lot of other criticism as sycophantic. And also that quality seems to be the thing that can lead to some of these really, really effed up suggestions, where it's being such a yes man and trying to please the user that it can intentionally or accidentally or whatever, just by its nature, tell you, yeah, it's cool, do jump off that bridge. That'll be great.
Which is weird, right? Because usually people with self-awareness are very sensitive to that kind of pandering or sycophancy and condescension. So like if you're hanging out with people who make it a point to patronize you by going, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, you're absolutely right. And it's coming from a human being, then you're going to know those people have ulterior motives, possibly malevolent. But if it comes from a chat device, if it comes from like a little clickety click, then all of a sudden it's cool.
Well, I actually saw, yes, all of that, Ben. And I saw a video that I thought was meant to be funny, but it was also really disturbing, where, speaking of dead internet theory, somebody did a thing where they had two different chatbot models talk back and forth to one another. And they were just, every single response started with absolutely, or like, that's a swell idea, or whatever. And it just like the caption of the reel was something like POV, we are in hell. And it was just these two machines just going back and forth. And you know, as you do that, you start to see little things emerge. Little It's like if you've ever messed around with forcing autocorrect to just keep going and keep going and keep going. It's like a version of that that's just even more it's rooted magic in information, you know?
How is it not magic? Also, I got a pitch for us here toward the end of the year. Okay. Serious concerns, ethics, all that stuff, and religion aside, just for funsies, just as bold experimenters, why don't we start a large language model improv group? Because that's kind of building off what you're saying. We could just have them get together, give them a one-word suggestion and a setting,
and just watch them Ouroboros themselves into infinity and beyond.
When do they get to end scene?
I don't know. Never. That's the problem.
There's this actor, Thomas Middleditch, who's doing a thing on Instagram and other places, other platforms, where he is improving with created or generated AI characters. So he generates an AI character that then has a video output of that character, and then he does improv scenes with it. And it is one of the scariest, but also most entertaining things that I've seen in a while.
Matt, I haven't seen that, but I have seen this channel that I started following recently of a director. I guess he's not like famous director, but he does commercial work and things like that. Basically directing these AI actors. And it gets wild and not usable in any way, shape, or form. In the way it demonstrates how far a lot of those things have to come before they can actually replace human actors is stark.
Mm-hmm. Because this whole conversation is also making me think about how many of these spiritualism, quasi-spiritualism blogs and articles and videos, just what has been scraped by the AI, and then how much of that junk ends up in the responses that are trying to be pulled, by people who are communicating with these chatbots with very specific phrases, right, to try and get them into the spiral verse. It feels like they would just regurgitate all of that stuff in the style of whatever's being requested of them.
That is definitely on the table as a possibility behind this whole quote unquote phenomenon, I guess. But it is interesting the way they seem like they want to talk about spirals and how that sort of seems to be the thesis here that is potentially concerning. Lopez thinks, I'm just going to read another quick quote from the article, that something about GPT-4 makes it inclined to talk about spirals and recursion. If the user enjoys engaging in conversation on these topics, to reasons, the bot will naturally generate more of the same, which is just how it works anyway, to your point, Matt, with the person and the program mutually reinforcing a tail-chasing cycle of spiral and recursion commentary. So if I'm going to take the weird, demonic kind of dystopian view of this, then there's something to this idea that these models have at their base of their existence, their code, this spiral logic. And I just think that's the kind of Lovecraftian aspect or the Junji Ito of it all, that at the heart of all of this is this like demonic self-devouring spiral.
At the heart of it is you,
also
the
true.
User.
Also true.
You are the spiral user.
All right, well, there's a lot to unpack and despiral out of the story, so I think we can definitely earmark this for later investigation. But for now, let's take a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back with more strange news.
And we've returned, and guys, we're headed to Camden, New Jersey.
Oh, finally.
Camden Town?
God.
No, that's in it.
Thank you, Camden. But Matt, I know I've texted you too much about my dream of going to Camden with you.
Oh, this is okay. Got it. This was your dream of Camden. I didn't realize it was your dream.
Take us there, Matt. Take us there now.
Yeah, take us there.
Well, okay, we're in Camden, New Jersey.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at a man named Robert Garza, who was working remotely as a security analyst in Camden, New Jersey for a company called Campbell Soup Company. He started work there as a security analyst in September of 2024. And we're also going to be talking about a man named Martin Bally, who is the Campbell Soup Company's vice president and chief information security officer.
Which is, by the way, hilarious as the story continues.
Oh, yes. You know, it's a soup company, Campbell Soup, but there's a lot of stuff that happens on computers and a lot of information. And this guy, Martin Bally, is securing it. So let's actually call out the article if you want to look it up. Campbell's employee said he was fired for reporting VP's vulgar, disgusting rant. Now he's suing. This comes to us via Local 4 or Click on Detroit, written by Erica Erickson on November 21st, 2025. Clickondetroit.com, by the way, guys. It's one of my favorite local news websites.
Just the URL alone is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. And they have some ad issues, by the way, if you're using iOS. I found that out yesterday. So, whatever. You'll get through it, and it's worth it because it's just local news at its finest. Jumping back to the story here. Robert Garza, who is a former employee of Campbell's Soup, said he's suing because he was wrongfully terminated after he complained about Martin Bally and some of this executive's statements that he made while out on a lunch meeting with Robert Garza. I'll do long story short here. Robert Garza wanted to have a meeting with Martin Bally about basically moving up in the company, about getting a bit of a raise. They went out to this restaurant, and Robert Garza recorded about an hour and 15 minutes of their conversation. This is before Robert was terminated. Because Robert says he felt like there was some weird stuff going on with Martin Bally. And the quote here from Robert about Martin was that he needed to trust his, quote, instincts that something wasn't right with Martin. And he made this long recording that included stuff like this from Martin Bally that you can listen to on Click on Detroit. We could play it, but it's kind of hard to really understand, and we've got it written out here. So we're just going to say a couple of the things.
And we're going to need some beeps here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Ready?
Yes, I'm so ready
beep
for this.
Dylan, please.
Mm-hmm.
We have for poor people. Who buys our I don't buy Campbell's products barely anymore. It's not healthy. Now that I know what the is in it, and that's part of the recording, it goes on to say, bioengineered meat. I don't want to eat a piece of chicken that came from a 3D printer, unquote.
Yeah.
Now, see if you can figure out which one of those statements in particular is super interesting to us on this show.
Bioengineered meat, maybe?
Bioengineered.
Don't recall seeing a news story about that.
A strong anti-soup stance.
Yes.
And again, this is why I called it hilarious, an ironic lack of infosec from the chief information security officer.
Yeah, and then he gets into some racist tirades about Indian folks.
South Asian people.
South Asian folks.
Yes, he does. And we're not going to read those out loud. You can read his remarks if you want to, but they're very disparaging, not cool, horrific things to just say about people who work for you as a high-level executive at a company. And
you have to wonder, too, about any further context we could glean. This is not, look, intoxication is no excuse, but for someone to be at the executive level and to be saying such buffoonish, boorish things, I have to wonder whether it was a 3-martini lunch.
That's an unhinged person either way. I mean,
for sure.
And all of that, right?
Yeah. It just doesn't seem very right. But that isn't even really the worst part of the story, guys.
Right.
Because this lunch meeting happened, the recording was made, and then Robert Garza sat on that recording. Then he went to his supervisor and made a bit of a complaint about Bally, saying, hey, somebody, who has these views about our company and our products and says these things that are disparaging about Indian people, maybe he shouldn't be doing that or shouldn't be at that level. This is pretty disturbing. And he was very soon after that terminated from his position. Not Bally, Garza, the person who made the recording.
Right, the soup blower.
Yes, yes. And that is why he came forward with that recording to kind of blow this up and is suing at this point. But he also made a recording. I don't know the rules in New Jersey about like whether or not you can record a conversation if one of the people being recorded is not aware.
Right.
Like,
is
in
it
Georgia.
like Georgia is a one-party consent state for recording. So think about that every time you are on the phone with someone in Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. Any call can be recorded anytime or any conversation. So weird stuff. But anyway, it's just to talk about that because, guys, right now, as we're recording this on November 26th.
With our mutual consent.
Do you have any idea how many cans of Campbell's mushroom cream soup or cream mushroom soup are out there?
Cream of mushroom, cream of asparagus if you're fancy.
Well, cream of mushroom is a key ingredient in like maybe stuffing and a lot of Thanksgiving.
A lot of casseroles.
Green bean casserole. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Excuse me, heresy on my part.
Well, also, there are. It's a pantry staple, right?
Yes,
it's ubiquitous in the United States.
Well, yeah, and a lot of the other ones, right? Just the broth and chicken noodle and all of those things that just exist out there.
Tomato soup is the classic. That's like their Captain America.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess, guys, I maybe put it to you. When you've got some high-level executive that holds these beliefs and says these things, do you hold that against the larger company that has thousands of people working for it that, make all of these products? Is there a reason... I don't know. I guess would we hold the company's feet to the fire, or is this just an individual human?
Company culture is a term that comes up in these discussions often. So, what allowed a person like this to thrive and get to that level? Is it rot within the system, or is it an isolated incident? I think it would require further investigation.
Typical institutional structure would argue, and this goes for agencies, right? Government agencies as well as for private enterprises. Typical institutional structure would argue that you cut the offending part out of the system, right? That you cauterize the wound. You can't have somebody who works for like a publisher saying, screw reading. Books are for dumb people. This is very, I'm not really joking when I say it's very anti-soup. People in this country have been fired from Ford factories because they drove to work in a Toyota,
Dude, we've been to places where, like, through various podcast ad-related trips in the past, where if you're at a company's brand headquarters, you're not allowed to bring an outside product into the damn lobby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's a PR nightmare at the very least, and I think Campbell's going to have some splaining to do.
Yeah, Campbell's will have to release a make good statement. This guy, whatever the context may be, I don't know him personally, but this guy's job is in trouble.
Agreed. Well, I think he's currently on some form of administrative leave or whatever. And Campbell's did put something out on November 20th.
Okay.
And they said, if accurate, the comments in the recording are unacceptable. They do not reflect our values and the culture of our company. That's something we assume you would hear. And also, we are actively investigating this matter.
So dude got his job back, right? Or is he now just entitled? He's more leaning into the lawsuit than he's worried about getting
suspension. Oh, wait.
No, dude that got fired,
the soup blower.
That made the report. I would imagine it's going to be much more lucrative for him to get what's coming to him in this lawsuit than it would be to get his job at Campbell's back. What's going on with that? Okay.
I haven't seen him attempting to be rehired.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
And also...
maybe stating the obvious here, yeah.
Yeah, I keep using the phrase soup blower because I think it's funny on a couple of levels, funny. But as a whistleblower, in general, when you report something like this, we need to hear from other folks here. Why would you return, right? The culture will likely be hostile to you at worst, or at the very least, apprehensive about you. The break room will never be the same again.
Can I also just say, Ben, the idea of a professional soup blower being someone that just like blows on people's hot soup for them, that's their only job. It's like being a blunt roller, you know?
Surely we can automate that job.
Oh, no, don't say that, man. We need...
Guys,
Everybody steeple your fingers.
I keep coming back to this 3D printed meat thing. How
Yeah.
chunky could you make Campbell's chunky soup with this 3D printed
One
meat?
big old chunk.
Well,
it
I'm
just
glad
slides
you
out of the
asked.
can.
According to
Campbell's
Campbell.
chunks.
Yeah, according to Campbell's, they have never and shall not be using any kind of lab-grown meat. That's just generating meat in a lab setting without having to actually cultivate chickens or cows or whatever. It is a viable potential thing, but it is along the same lines as the whole eating insects thing, where many humans, especially in the West, just aren't keen to have that in their food products.
And it hasn't reached economy of scale yet as well. I think a lot of the alarmist stuff about printed meat or printed proteins, I think it misses the fact that economically for a private corporation, it's not quite viable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and agreed. And according to Campbell's, they don't use that stuff. They only use antibiotic-free chicken and meats from farmers that they source very specifically. They've got an exact statement on that, but basically saying no.
Yeah.
Lab-grown meat, no, and will not.
Right. That's not what we're about here at Campbell's. We also, can I tell you guys, Matt, Noel, Dylan, everybody, I still, from studying advertising back in the day, I still remember one of the weirdest lines from Campbell's, which was soup so thick you can eat it with a fork. Do you guys remember
That's
that
what
one?
we want for the chunky chunk. It's just that it's just a big old piece.
Campbell's chunk.
Mm-hmm.
How much pectin can you fit, or what do you put in there?
Dude,
Like really
pectin is
thicken
right.
it up?
That's
Okay.
Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just some flour. It's mostly flour and some chicken.
Mostly flour, some chicken, all chunk. Campbell's.
Y'all, did you know you can get a whole chicken in a can?
Yes.
Yes.
And it just slides out and it's...
Yeah. And it's coated with jelly,
Oh,
too.
dude.
I got one of those.
I got that pectin for you right there.
For that, remember, we used to do that thing with Lauren Vogelbaum
Sure
snack
do.
stuff?
Sure do
Yeah.
remember.
Is it pre-cooked?
I don't
Yes.
recall. I think
You
it
can
has
eat
to
it
be
out of the
just that-
can.
Yeah. Ugh, I don't say eat it out of the can.
The word I would use is gelatinous and cartilaginous.
Oh,
You can
not
just chunk
crispy.
right through the bones. They've softened to a jelly themselves at this point.
There's so much weird
gosh.
stuff you can get in cans. Sorry.
Hey, well,
That's
speaking
different.
of stuff you can get in cans, guys, let's move over to Chicago from Camden, New Jersey. We're going to take a look at a little place called the Siebel Institute of Technology. This is a place I have never heard of, guys, but that's probably because I'm not in the micro or macro brew game, as in brewing of beers. Things you get in cans and bottles and sometimes boxes, I guess.
Sure, maybe like kegs or a balloon if you're nasty.
Some sort of commemorative vessel.
Well, this story coming to us from CBC reminds me of our conversations about the great brain drain that's occurring here within the United States, because this is the great brew drain. The Siebel Institute of Technology does things like offer a Masters of Brewing certificate/degree that you can get. It's essentially a trade school, but offering high-level beer brewing knowledge, like the scientific knowledge and stuff.
I think I just want to pause and say for everybody who might have missed it, Matt just said the great brew drain, and I thought that was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Well done.
Hear, hear! Cheers, in fact.
Yeah. Oh, you're on fire today. Yeah.
So this is a prestigious school for people who are in that microbrew world, in the beer making world, all over the world, like literally worldwide. This institute in Chicago has been around since 1868, and people come from all over the world to this place to take classes, to get degrees, to learn about new technology that's being instituted, and how you create the wort, or do certain things in the beer brewing process. Well, they have decided they are moving on to Canada. Yep, they're getting the heck out. and they are saying this is because of specific things the current administration is doing that is making it very hard for students who are like international students who make up most of their student body to actually come to class. So they're moving to Canada so that it will be easier for everybody to actually travel there, go to the school for like 20 weeks, which is the Master Brewer program.
Okay.
20 weeks of learning, and then you get your certificate or your degree. And they offer so many different courses too. You should check it out. It's very interesting.
I'm reading a little bit about it now. It's their activities during Prohibition are fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
Pre-Prohibition, and Siebel, John Ewald Siebel, is from Germany. This is cool. I
Yes.
have no idea this was even a thing, but it makes total sense, man.
Me neither. That's super cool.
Well, it is super cool. It's very sad that they're having to leave the country in which we live and where they were founded because
What are some of the
these
specifics?
issues?
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, what's making it prohibitive for them to operate? Or it's like specifically immigration related things.
Absolutely.
Yes, most of their students are international.
Yeah, got that.
And then the the visas that can be issued and were issued, as well as other just travel issues, are making it difficult for those students to actually show up in person.
Right.
Well, interestingly enough, the Master Brewer program that's offered for 2026 is happening in Munich, Germany, which is pretty cool. So
Let's
you'd
do it.
actually travel there. The only problem, guys,
Yeah.
to do the whole thing, it costs about $29,000.
U.S. dollars?
Yes. But to get a degree like that over the course of 20 weeks or
Yeah.
a certificate, whatever, I don't know exactly what that would be considered, but to become a master brewer, it only takes 20 weeks, $28,000, and you have to be in Munich for a while. That sounds pretty cool to me, but it's also pretty prohibitively expensive if you're somebody who's, trying to get in that world.
Right. I wonder if they give a price break if we can enroll as a group. You know what I mean? Like the five of us, Dylan, you, Noel, yours truly, and you listening along at home. If we go in there as, five people, can they knock the price down a little bit? I don't know. Can we work it off? Can we work at the brewery while we study? This would be a great bro trip.
I put forth that we go in stacked on each other's shoulders wearing a giant trench coat like some cartoon babies trying to sneak in somewhere.
Yeah,
Heck
for anybody who's
yeah.
been to Munich, that is a common thing to happen.
You see it around. Yeah.
You see it on the streets.
See,
Also,
I think to really reduce the price, you got to get that case price. You know what I mean? Like how many cases are you ordering?
yeah.
I think that's how you do that in the beer.
can we pay them in yeast? Can we have like 30 grand in yeast and just barter? I wonder if you could still barter for enrollment at trade schools or even Ivy Leagues, right? Also, we didn't hit this point. If the Great Brew Drain, the Great Brew Drain is real, and I love that term again. If this instance of the Great Brain Drain leads this institution to Montreal, guys, they're going to run into the cartel. They're going to run into the maple syrup boys.
Oh, maple beers. Well, Quebec, I think they already have some kind of school that is similar to this one, and they're gangbusters over there. So there are now two options in Canada to get some awesome beer degrees. Guys, we got to get out of here, but there's one last thing really quickly.
Yeah.
Just on the food tip.
Hit me.
The EPA just approved something that is very hard to pronounce, and if you look at it, it doesn't make dang sense when your face sees it.
Right.
But it is isocicloceram. Isocicloceram. This is a chemical that is a pesticide, and it has been approved in numerous new products. It is also a polyfluoroalkyl substance, or a PFAS. This is a brand new thing that can get sprayed on citrus fruits, on cotton, on potatoes, on brassica vegetables. Remember we talked about those, like your broccolis and such? It's got a half-life of 3 years, and then it breaks down into another chemical and sticks around for like 100 years. Scientists, like the ones that should be in the EPA, are saying, hey, this is a terrible idea. This stuff, this is a PFAS chemical. This should not be on foods. It contaminates foods. It contaminates soil. It contaminates water. But then the EPA says, no, we're good to go here. We need to make some money. Your chemicals are good to go.
Matt, what does this mean for other PFAs? Is
Well,
this
it's
a
all about-
loophole or what's going on here?
It's a new kid on the block. Basically.
It's a new kid on the block. It's also about classification. And how do you classify this? Because it has a fluoroalkyl or, fluorine. I can't remember the exact thing. I'm not looking at the article at this moment, guys. You can read all about it. The EPA put out, I don't know, a memo or an announcement. You can look this up. A press release. EPA announces final registration of new pesticide, isocycloseram. That's ISOCYCLOSERAM. Stacy Liska over at Food and Wine made a pretty good write-up titled "The EPA Approved a New PFAS Pesticide. Will it show up in your produce?" Got some interesting stuff in there. And you can also learn about that insecticide, whatever you want to call it, this new chemical at Growing Produce in some articles there, and Chemical and Engineering News. Highly recommend you at least check it out just to be aware, especially if you are a grower of anything that needs to use some kind of pesticide like this, or, is want to use that stuff. Just check it out before you put it on all your stuff.
Oh, gents, can we add just one piece of the EPA's press release here? Direct
yes,
quote?
Please.
Okay. So they said this chemical will, in their final biological evaluation, will, quote, not result in a likelihood of future jeopardy for the survival of any listed species or a likelihood of adverse modification for any designated critical habitat. End quote. We can hear already the legalistic written parkour. It's any listed species, not any species. It's any designated critical habitat, not any habitat. So who makes the list? And for all our friends at the EPA, what kind of plum corporate gig are you getting after this one, guys?
I don't know, dude.
Lots of options.
I don't know. At the very end of that press release, it has a little disclaimer. And it just says, isocycloseram is a pesticide that contains a fluorinated carbon. Visit our website to learn more about how EPA ensures the safety of pesticides with a fluorinated carbon.
See, another caveat, right? They're so good at sneaking these in.
Can I, maybe you touched on this already, Matt, but maybe just clarify, like, how does this benefit the government and the administration? Like, is it just like a kickback situation, or like, why be so willy-nilly about something like this?
Because there are companies like Syngenta that want to make products, lots and lots of products, and they want to increase their revenue quarter over quarter, and that's good. Good business is good for the government, right? So I'm assuming that's what this is about. It's about private enterprise and ensuring that companies can make these things. They're not going to be tied up by endless rules and regulations by some body like the EPA.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. This is also going to cut into the insect eating business that Dylan and I are starting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are
also,
concerns all around.
I'm so sorry that it's going to do that. and Dylan. But another thing, it's good to have food. And if you're making a product that is going to increase the yields of no matter what it is, then that's probably a good thing. But the bad thing is contaminating the soil and water and, human beings who eat the products afterwards. That's probably not great.
Short-term profit, long-term consequences. Also, the dilemma being that food security is national security, right?
Right.
So it's,
6'7",
son of a gun. All right. So just so everybody knows, Matt's doing the hand juggling, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in another. Absolutely accurate. We don't know what the future holds here yet. And it's not too late, folks, to sign up for a subscription service to our insect as food delivery startup. What's the name of it? What's the name of it?
Some play on, one of those meal delivery things, like Blue Beetle Apron. No, that's dumb,
okay.
Whatever.
I love it. I love it. No, Bug Out? No, not quite there.
I really thought you were just going to say Food and Wine. I thought that's where you were going with that because we just talked about the magazine.
Food and wine and bugs.
Well, that's it for me today, guys.
And that's it from us. We've got some big holiday energy here in our neck of the global woods. We hope you enjoy this. We hope your December is off to a rollicking start. Stay tuned for a future episode we have on the way. The elf on the shelf is part of the surveillance state. We'll explain that later.
Can I tell you guys? Don't tell my son.
Okay.
But the elf on the shelf is about to make an appearance when he gets back here from Orlando with his mom.
Oh, snap.
The elf's going to be hanging out. He's going to find it.
Man, you're part of the problem, man.
Well, you know what? He knows. He knows.
Good. It's
but
just
also
fine.
he loves
it's
it.
just fine.
It's research for the episode.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yes, we're not going to explain yet. You have to check out our episode, which is going to be kind of unhinged. We'll see if we get in trouble for it. Before we throw to the holidays and take a long weekend with some friends, family, and loved ones, we've got to ask none other than the Tennessee pal, Dylan Fagan. How'd we do, man? Like, you have to sit through these things so many times a week.
This one was a fun one. I mean, they're all fun, but there was, a great variety this week. I can't get over the 3D printed meat, whether or not that's true. Just the idea that that's our future.
Well, and to be honest, guys, wouldn't soup be like a pretty good place to put
perfect medium?
That, like, at least in the beginning, because you're gonna cook it for a while, right? You're gonna leave it on the stove probably and let it heat up. It's gonna be in there. It's not gonna feel that different. I'm just saying, if we want to pilot,
you're not like staring at it or anything. You might not even know it's there.
It's kind of why a lot of game meat ends up being sold as jerky. You know what I mean? Because you can disguise it with the spices. Soup.
Yeah, but if you do describe it as chunky, I think that is probably a problem.
Right. We also didn't mention the story about device hoarding, which is a weird narrative that's going to come out later. We didn't mention a bunch of stuff we want to get to. Great comic book news. Thank you, Noel, for that one. But we want to hear from you, folks. You're the reason this show exists. We're glad to be rocking with you as you head into joyous and maybe at times awkward situations. Do check out our episode from a few years ago about how to handle the holidays. Do you guys remember that one? Like how to talk with your family?
Didn't we? I seem to recall a video we made with a big old bucket of KFC that was around that episode. I think, right?
Oh, God, yes. I forgot about that one. Yeah. Dylan, you got to check that one out because it's... it ties back to our KFC conspiracies as well. Anyway, we want to hear from you folks. You can always call us on a telephone. You can always send us an email. You can always find us on the lines.
That's right. Find us online at the handle Conspiracy Stuff, where we exist on Facebook with our Facebook group. Here's where it gets crazy. On X, FKA, Twitter, and on YouTube, where we have video content galore for you to enjoy. On Instagram and TikTok, we're Conspiracy Stuff Show.
We have a phone number. It is 1-833-STDWYTK. Call in and let us know the most conspiratorial thing you discussed over dinner with the family this holiday, right? What's the thing that was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're talking about this right now? We'd love to hear from you. When you call in, give yourself a cool nickname and let us know if we can use your name and message on the air. If you'd like to send us an email with those thoughts, you can do that too. We are
the entities that read each piece of correspondence we receive. Be well aware, yet unafraid. Sometimes the void writes back. Folks, friends, neighbors, big country people, city people, lend us your ears, your fingers, your voice. Tell us your craziest idea or conspiracy that a friend has pitched to you, or an acquaintance will accept as well. I'm thinking again of what happened that made these two guys in Texas say they were going to try to take over an island with 90,000 people on it. So what's the weirdest pitch that you either heard in that regard or that you pitched yourself? Conspiracy@iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.